Okay, let's. Oh, actually, I lied. One more, John. I apologize. One more. This was not a cabinet official, but it's someone that we love anyway. And it's what's her name? Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary.
God.
We love her. We love, don't we, John? We love this lady.
No top lip Leavitt.
So this is I'll just do the cliff notes on this, that there is this guy who they arrested and claimed that he was the number 3 guy in MS-13. By the way, folks, if you ever hear the United States government say they've arrested someone who's number 3 on anything, it's a lie. It is a lie. That is a common. How many times did they arrest the number 3 guy in Al Qaeda? I feel like that's the most like dangerous job on planet Earth. You're the number 3 guy in Al Qaeda. You are getting droned. You are getting arrested. You're getting captured. And so they claim
enemy number 1.
And if you do happen to get droned, you become the number 3 guy in Al Qaeda, no matter who you are.
Yeah. It's and like you always knew. Oh, we had Bin Laden, we had Zawahiri, and then 9 number 3 guys that they all killed somehow. Oh, really? They were all number 3? Like, why would anyone take that job? But anyway, so they claimed that they arrested the number 3 guy for MS-13, and instead of giving this guy due process, they're just deporting him. And Martha McCallum on Fox News says, okay, this actually doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing this? Because if he's the number 3 guy, shouldn't you have an investigation so we can find out more about MS-13? And I just want to go over Caroline Leavitt's response here.
Can you shed some light on this? Because it was a story that we all covered, that he was the East Coast leader of MS-13. So what was the evidence that supported that proclamation by the Department of Justice and the FBI?
Here at the White House, we applaud the Attorney General Pam Bondi, our FBI Director Kash Patel, for working hand in hand with local law enforcement on the ground in the Commonwealth of Virginia to detain and arrest this MS-13 ringleader. There was sufficient evidence to do so, and now the case is in the hands of the Department of Homeland Security, who will be deporting this individual from our country. These agencies are working together in a collaborative way to follow President Trump's directive to eradicate MS-13 and foreign terrorists from United States soil. So this is an individual who was detained and arrested because of the president's policies, and he will no longer be residing in the United States of America. And our
I'm just trying to get some clarity on it, Caroline, because if indeed he is what we were told he is, the East Coast leader of MS-13, wouldn't it make sense to prosecute him for crimes related to that? I know he was held on a gun charge, but to make sure that any victims of MS-13 through his leadership get their day in court here in the United States, and then send him to an El Salvadoran prison if he is deported and found guilty on those crimes.
Well, again, this administration is doing things differently, Martha, and this president has made a directive to his agencies, particularly the Department of Homeland Security, to remove foreign terrorists from America's homeland to protect American citizens. And we have an incredible diplomatic relationship with the president of El Salvador.
All right, that continues. Basically, she repeats herself over and over again that this guy's dangerous. Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily want to talk about like the setup of it or the logic and everything, because there is none there. Why does she talk like that? Or why do so many Trump administration folks talk like this? Stephen Miller, Caroline Leavitt, they all yell into the camera, into the microphone, like the person is standing 40 feet away. And it sounds
like they're reporting from like a war zone or like in a hurricane. Like,
yes.
And I'll tell you, the winds are pretty intense here.
Yeah. And so, like, Nate, when you said that maybe Kristi Noem just has that, because Kristi Noem doesn't talk like that. She isn't capable of generating that much force in her voice. But everybody else that's on there, that guy, what's his name? The finance guy,
Luck. The worst.
Yeah. He's just yelling. It sounds like you're watching an infomercial at 3 a.m. or something, and someone's just yelling into the microphone. But she's the absolute worst at it. But it's indicative of the entire Trump administration. They all have that loud projecting thing. He's got to be forcing them to do it. No one naturally talks that way.
And I was going to say it's literally the entire Trump administration, whether they're being investigated by the House, trying to see like, hey, should this person be appointed to this position? Whenever they're asked a question, they talk circles around the actual answer without actually giving you an answer. It's like they were handed a script and said, hey, don't say anything besides what is on this script. Yell it if you have to.
Yeah. Yell it. Must be true. All right. So let's go on to the title story we had for today's episode. And that is Donald Trump, our anti-war president, Donald Trump. No new wars. He is going to go after the military-industrial complex. He has proposed a $1 trillion budget for the United States military. And you can't play the fell for it again award against the Republicans on this because they don't care. They obviously don't care. They spent years talking about how Donald Trump didn't get us into any new wars. And he also didn't end the war we were in at the time. Joe Biden did, but that was bad. We can't have that. So they don't really care about it. But what do you think this signals? Because so far, Donald Trump has bombed Yemen. And off the top of my head, he has threatened military action against Greenland, Panama, and Iran, Gaza, Mexico. He keeps threatening, military action over and over again, and he's expanding the size of the military. What do you think our great leader's plan for the U.S. military is, Nate? What do you think?
I mean, if he's actually serious, which you can never tell with this man, if he's actually serious about something or not, about taking Greenland by any means necessary, we are looking at a potential conflict. I mean, we've already heard that, like you said, that he was moving nuclear equipment onto an island, that way they could launch it into Iran. And then Russia, Vladimir Putin said, hey, if you launch those nukes, if you attack Iran, it's not going to be good for you. So he's making all these moves. It seems like he's planning to either start or participate in a war.
I mean, it's right out of the playbook. Like, here's the thing: if anyone isn't taking this seriously as a legitimate threat, I don't know what to tell you, because he's going to continue to decline in popularity. The economy ain't gonna just get better. Again, I said this yesterday, but even if you agree with him, even if you think his goals are reasonable economic goals, that somehow by reindustrializing and stopping doing all of the things that made us the greatest economy in the world and starting to all the things that poor countries do, we're going to get richer. Even if you believe that bullshit, he's going about it in the dumbest possible way. Like, you can't be sitting here and going, that guy is the guy that I want to accomplish these grandmaster economic plans of mine. So, like, it's just going to get worse. And as it gets worse, he's going to decline in popularity. And what does every authoritarian ruler do when they are declining in popularity and facing, an uprising against them? They start a war. You look at Netanyahu in Gaza. What's he been doing? He's been prolonging this war as long as possible. You look at Putin in Ukraine. He's can also prolong this war as long as possible. Like, if you look at every authoritarian throughout history, they use war as a reason to stay in power. It's going to happen. I can't tell you who. I can't tell you who we're going to go to war with. I could have given you some good guesses before this administration, but then he started throwing out things like Canada and Denmark, which were not on my fucking bingo card. And so I don't know who it is, but I do think he's going to try. And I do think that I really hope he doesn't feel the need to get there before Democrats have control of Congress, because it could get really bad.
If Star Wars has taught me anything about tariffs and trade wars, it's going to be China.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, why China?
Because the entirety of the first three movies, the prequel trilogy, the Separatist War started because of trade wars between the Republic and the Federation. Mm-hmm. And that's what kicked off the entire Clone War.
Huh.
So you're saying because China's kind of the leader on the other side of the trade war, it's going to be them in the real war. Okay, got it. I was trying to think of parallels between the Federation and China, and I was like, I can't think of any. But they're both good at making robots. I don't know. Better than Elon Musk is.
They're both good at making robots. No. Yeah, so I'm interested in this too, to see where this goes, because Trump is leaning in several directions here. He keeps talking about when he made his announcement, I think for the first time, when he announced the first time I saw it at least, that he was pushing $1 trillion military budget, he was sitting next to Benjamin Netanyahu and he said, "Oh, you're going to love this." And he said that we're announcing $1 trillion military budget. I was like, that's weird. Like, why are you saying that? Why are you leaning over to Netanyahu and telling how much he's going to love this
Why
expansion?
are you going to love this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's also really uncomfortable because Trump keeps talking about the voluntary migration of the people of Gaza. I don't know how many times I've heard him say this. And when people ask him to clarify, well, why are you saying voluntary migration? What if they don't want to leave? He says, well, I don't know why they would want to stay, which is not the question. He wouldn't answer it. And he was saying, I'm sure a lot of them will leave. He keeps referring to it as great beachfront property, and Israel should have never given it away. And it's like, okay, are you hinting about the United States being involved in this removal of human beings and the stuff that goes on with Panama? My God, Pete Hegseth, what did he say? He said something about Panama today. I should have pulled the clip up or something where he was talking about the fact that China will no longer control the Panama Canal. Have you seen that? And because Donald Trump has been saying for a long time that, China is getting their hooks into the Panama Canal. No, China does not control the Panama Canal. But, if the red Chinese, the Chinese Communist Party, is sinking its claws into the most important canal in the Western Hemisphere, that's going to be impetus to do some sort of action. Yeah, and so maybe we should take it over. And Greenland, if they don't accept, I don't know why I keep saying Greenland, if they don't accept, payouts or bullying, whatever, I don't think he's going to go to war with Denmark. But I mean, who knows at this point? I don't really know what's going on. What about you, John? What do you think?
See, that's the question. It's less so which country is he going to try and go to war with, or less so is he going to try and go to war, and more so which country. And I really don't know, because I've been saying this for a while, guys. Like, I don't think we're capable of. Capable isn't the right word. I don't think it's viable to go to war with any country. Like, what, unless we invaded, I don't understand who we're going to war with, because we're not going to invade a NATO ally in Denmark. Like, that just seems so implausible. Like, that would cause a world war. That'd be like utterly catastrophic to a level that I don't think even Trump wants to touch. Like, I don't think he wants to be remembered as the president that started World War III. So any NATO ally, Russia or China, is probably all. I mean, obviously we know Russia's off the table because he's not going to go to war with his buddy. And China is an unwinnable war on both sides. Like, it's just like neither country could ever win that war. And honestly, it would take longer. Even if you were going to say you could win, it would take longer than Trump has in the presidency. So I don't think he has much, desire to start a war that he cannot finish. Not that he, acts as if he's living in reality, but I don't think he would do that. So, like, there's Middle East. Like, I think Gaza's his thing. Like, I think he's going to send troops on the ground in Gaza. That makes the most sense to me. But, like, again, that also probably wouldn't take that long, which maybe is what he wants. I don't know. That's probably the most likely one, guys. Am I wrong about that? Like, if you're going to rank the most likely countries that Donald Trump would want to go to war with, Gaza?
I don't know what Nate's answer would be. My answer would be one that would be as like surgical as possible. I don't think, like John, I agree. There's no chance we're having, an actual invasion of China or Iran. So it's not going to happen. It would be something like what happened with the Houthis. It'd be something like that. Like, that would be the only way that he would expand the military, because it's palatable to enough people and it doesn't cost us the blood and treasure, but it still allows us to flex our military muscle. It still allows us to pay the contractors. It still allows us to use the weapons and material that we have sitting there collecting dust, and could be a way to raise Trump's profile and get some more popular attention. Gaza would be a tricky one, though, because you don't know, because it's not, there's a decent group of people on the right who are anti-Israel for the wrong reasons. They're anti-Israel, and so you never know. Like, Gaza is, I guess, the best guess because it's the one that he does keep hawking and talking about. But I don't really know. What do you think, Nate?
I mean, yeah, I think Gaza, unfortunately, would be his primary target because obviously, other than Trump, he is best buddies with Netanyahu. And I don't think Netanyahu gave him that golden beeper just for just for show. I think it might be a different incentive, like the other beepers he handed out. But
that would be the very funny way for Trump to get assassinated.
Shit. Yeah, man. Wow.
But I think that a secondary option, if there would be one, would either be to try to invade Panama or to try to illegally do the strikes that he's talking about doing in Mexico on the cartels.
Yeah, the Panama one, I can see a scenario in which Trump does try to take over the canal. I can't see a military one, though. I really can't. Because it's like Panama would never. Panama would stand down. What would be in it for them to even bother trying to put up a resistance against the United States? I just don't think that would happen. I can see him doing a takeover, and I can see it not costing him any points. I can. You tell your average American, oh, Donald Trump illegally took over the Panama Canal. They're like, oh, all right, well, it belongs to us. Did anybody die? I really do think it's something that could happen where Trump would suffer minimal, if any, political consequences. What do you think, John?
Yeah, Panama is a good one because here's the other piece that people forget about on this one. Donald Trump desperately wants to gain land. Donald Trump is a real estate developer first and foremost. That's what he was born and raised in. And also, if you look at the history of the United States, you want to get your name in the history books.
Yeah.
Gaining land is a great way to do it. And I think Donald Trump looks at things through that lens. What is going to get the most notoriety for the name Donald Trump? And that is where he wants to do it. I think that's why, honestly, I genuinely think that's why Gaza hasn't been invaded yet, because Trump wants to keep it and Netanyahu wants to keep it, and they're playing this little pissing match to see who gets it. It makes no sense for us to be involved there. And that's the problem. So it's like maybe there's some small island nations he can conquer, get like the new Hawaii or something. God forbid we turn Puerto Rico into a state. I think that those are the factors that we need to have at play here. But yeah, to just circle this back up to where we're going, there's no reason for any of this. Like all of the extensive reasons that Republicans had is like, oh, the war in Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. We're spending so much money, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we got to cut Social Security and Medicaid and all this fraud and abuse. The Pentagon has failed. What is it? Are we at 6 audits now? 7 audits? I've lost track of how many audits have failed in a row, and we want to give them more money? Like that, it's laughable. It's laughable. Any Republican who wants to cut the deficit, I'm laughing in your face right now. I don't actually believe you ever wanted that, because if you did, you would have seen this coming, because the entire world could have seen this coming. And the number one most unnecessary expense we have is the military by the largest margin possible. So yeah, it's just bullshit.
Yeah, and this is actually the time where you could do it. There is enough sense, because back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you couldn't do it. If you went up there and you said you wanted to cut the military budget, you would be hammered from Republicans and Democrats alike saying, I can't believe you're trying to take food out of the mouths of our brave young service members, and you hate America and stuff. And now you don't really have to jump through those hoops anymore. Say, okay, no, of course I'm not trying to starve our men and women in the United States military, but the bulk of a giant portion of this money is going to defense contractors, going to Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, to expand this military industrial complex that does not need to grow any larger. And people kind of know that now. So to the extent that a lot of Republicans say amazingly, yeah, we should cut the military budget, it's the same way they say that we should, reduce the national debt or something. It's something they use to paper over their real agenda, like the stuff that they actually care about, like let's punish the minorities and the trans folks and the scary college professors and stuff, which is why, burning them on this and, the Republicans just dropped a budget that's going to increase the deficit by $5 trillion. They don't really care about that. They pretend to, but they don't. What do you think, Nate?
There is no such thing as a fiscally conservative Republican anymore, because literally all they do is increase the military budget and then increase the deficit. because literally every single Republican that we have had since I have been alive, since 1997, which was the year I was born, has increased the deficit. Bush did it, Trump did it, and I'm sure the one before Bush Senior did it as well.
Yeah, Reagan did as well.
And every Democrat president has decreased the deficit.
Yeah, I
don't think every Democrat has decreased the deficit.
No,
I mean, every president has increased the deficit. Clinton is the one who got rid of the.
No, Clinton had a budget surplus, but Democrats every Democrat has decreased the deficit. Like every Republican, as from the Republican level. So I remember having a discussion with a friend of mine.
Okay, yeah, relative to the Republican, they increased the deficit less.
Yeah, and so like I remember I was talking to a friend of mine years ago, and he's a Republican, and he says, and it was during Obama's administration, like his second term. And he said, what I would really love? I would just really love to have a president come along and just cut the deficit in half. I think that would be great. I would vote for that guy. I said, you were talking about Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Obama took the deficit of the previous administration that George W. Bush spent and spent 1/3 of it. 1/3. And I don't hear you. And he's like, I didn't know that. He didn't vote for Democrats because they don't really care about it. They like saying it and it sounds cool. But no, all the presidents do it. Every now and again, you will find a Republican who will actually stand on principle with spending and stuff. Rand Paul on occasion will say, okay, that's actually kind of bad. I won't vote for that. I mean, he's crazy in a lot of other areas, but I do respect. He does seem principled. I think he's insane. I think that, I'm not going to call him stupid, but his ideas are incredibly, his ideals are misplaced. But he does stand by, okay, I don't want to spend money on that. That seems crazy. And he's all right with a few civil liberties things here and there. But the hypocrisy is pretty bad. Go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say Rand Paul's definitely I give him the credit of being more principled than probably the rest of the GOP currently.
Yes.
Even though he doesn't always stick with his principles. Which is why I got to ding him because he will use his principles to be against good things, but then when bad things happen, he only is sometimes against them. Libertarians are kind of like that.
Well, that's true, but I think that's also being a politician too. Like, you can't govern solely by your principles. I mean, you can, but you will lose. Every politician kind of knows that. You can only go as far as you can go. And not everyone can be Bernie Sanders, even Bernie. I'm sure Bernie does it too. Bernie, you've heard Bernie, talk about pro-Israel stuff and everything. So yeah, it happens, but that's just how it is.
Thank you very much, guys. This has been The Left Wing. I really, really hope you enjoyed our show today and all of our excellent segues. But if you're watching this as a video right now, you maybe didn't hear them. So make sure to catch us live at 6:30 on Thursday, 6:30 EST. If you liked our guests, want to hear more from them, Nate, where can people find you?
You can find me on all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, all at the Buff Animator.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted you to subscribe to The Left Wing. This is a fantastic show. Appreciate it, guys. Catch you later.